Let's talk a little bit about competition. So I truly believe that no matter why you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you should compete at least once. Probably way more than that, because most of the time your first tournament experience may not go your way. Okay, so tournaments are fun. There's a lot going on. There's tons of activities. You get to go out and have fun, right? You get to go out and do jiu-jitsu. I always tell my guys, like, if you look around, nobody is there who doesn't want to be there. Everyone's there because they want to. They're there to have fun. Of course, it's competitive, but ultimately, jiu-jitsu is a fun experience for all of us. Competitions are a great social gathering too, right? We always talk about camaraderie in jiu-jitsu. Well, when you're there with your teammates, you're cheering them on, they're cheering you on, you're high-fiving each other, you know, after a great match, or going, hey, don't worry about it, you know, you'll get them next time. They're helping you out. It's a huge social event. It tends to bring teams much closer together. Competitions are a measurement of your personal growth as well. You get to really kind of go out, do your best against an unwilling opponent, and see if you can do your jiu-jitsu the way you wanted to. And if you can't, it's nice to be able to come back, kind of reassess, look at what happened during the match, and grow from that. Oftentimes I have people that start out and they're horrible at competition. They might be great in the classroom, but just competitively they're not very good. They fall apart. And my answer to that is do more, compete more. And what you'll see is these people that really love jiu-jitsu, but they're not great competitors, become great competitors and love jiu-jitsu more. Jiu-jitsu is a great personal challenge, right? We're always challenging ourselves. I believe that's part of our personal evolution, right? We play video games for the challenge of it. We don't win every single time. We play these board games and we run races and we do all these different events and different games and activities, not to win every time, but for that personal challenge of it all. And there's nothing more challenging, in my opinion, than going out and trying to do jiu-jitsu against a person that is about your equal, trying to do jiu-jitsu against a peer that is also trying to do jiu-jitsu against you. You're trying to win, and they are too. Competitions can also help you hone in on your strengths and your weaknesses. For example, you might have a good series of movements that you're great at, but maybe your coaches and teammates don't see that as much in class. But when all eyes are on you in a tournament and they see you hitting the same techniques over and over and over again, that gives them confidence in you, and it also helps you gain confidence in that aspect of your jiu-jitsu. And then that gives you this like block of techniques that you know you're really good at, that you can start evolving more techniques off of that system. And then on the other end of that, it helps you hone in on your weaknesses. Maybe your guard retention is not very good. Maybe you allow people to mount you too often when it counts. In classrooms, we oftentimes don't really think about our weaknesses so much because we don't have the adrenaline. We're not really worried about it. It's not a competition in class. So you tend to not see some of the things that you're weak at. But a tournament, a competition, a match really, really exposes those weaknesses. And that's always something you can look at it and go, man, I've been having trouble with this. I can take this back to my coach, take this back to my team, and we can work on strengthening these weaknesses. So I think the competition really kind of brings out those strengths, it brings out those weaknesses, kind of makes them visible for everyone to see. One of the things that I think competitions help with that people don't commonly think about is just that preparing for a tournament, we tend to focus on the things that would make us better for a tournament, right? So we tend to eat a little cleaner. We tend to like exercise a little more, like, oh, I got to get my cardio up to compete. So we tend to exercise a little more. We tend to eat a little better, maybe just for the fuel of it, maybe for the weight loss of it. We tend to train a little harder. We tend to focus a little more on making our techniques crisper. Maybe we drill the techniques more. Maybe we put more combinations together. So just kind of that preparation for a tournament actually helps evolve our game a lot. And you don't commonly think about that, but all the training, all the exercise, all the proper dieting we do leading up to a tournament is actually really good for us as a person, and it's really good for our jiu-jitsu. Self-defense. I get a lot of people, they really separate the sport and the self-defense aspect of jiu-jitsu, and to me, they go hand in hand. If you're just training self-defense jiu-jitsu and you're never really putting yourself in a scenario where you have a live person really coming at you when the stakes are higher, if you never enter that mindset, that state where you are really trying to win, there's something on the line, then when somebody jumps out of a dark alley and attacks you, you're going to fall apart. Okay, so competition is kind of that midway point between my classroom training and my self-defense situation. And even looking at the sporting rules, yes, there are some things I would do in a tournament that I wouldn't do in a self-defense scenario. But ultimately, most of the jiu-jitsu point system is guided toward self-defense, right? Take the fight to the ground, dominate the position where I can effectively attack without being attacked, and end the match with a submission. That's what I'm looking at in a self-defense scenario, and those are things I'm awarded for in a sports scenario. I think if you're competing, you should compete under different rule sets. You might be the best guy in the world under these rule sets, but when you switch the rule sets over a little bit, you can't hang. I've personally done, no-gi jiu-jitsu, gi jiu-jitsu, no time limit gi and no gi, submission only gi and no gi, judo, MMA, okay? So I believe that in competition, you should select a few different rule sets, at least compete under a couple of different rule sets. That way you're not focused just on, oh, I can get this advantage here if I do this and this and this. But focusing on different rule sets makes you a much more complete grappler. And that applies to self-defense, that applies to personal and jiu-jitsu growth. It applies all throughout. So again, guys, whether it's for the fun, the camaraderie, your personal growth, you're honing in on your strengths and weaknesses, whether you're just trying to focus on your training, on your diet, whether you want to do self-defense, it doesn't really matter why you do jiu-jitsu. I think that getting out there and competing, at least from time to time, is gonna make you a better person. It's gonna make you a better jiu-jitsu athlete, a better jiu-jitsu practitioner overall.